What's up, you S-heads? This is, that's for Style and Direction heads. This is your host, Ethan Wong, telling you about a new sponsor we have this week. It is Strix. They are a men's cosmetics brand. Now you're thinking like, whoa, wait, cosmetics, that's makeup. Well, not, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not really. It's about covering and concealing your acne. And now, I mean, okay, so I'm a young guy, and I still get zits, and usually Spencer will ask me, Ethan, what do you do when you get zits? I just cry because I have a very bad diet, and sometimes I break out. And instead of, you know, just going through my day with a big old, I think it's like a red head? No, wait, a white head? I'm not sure what it's called. But when you get a zit, you know, you kind of want to cover it up, and Strix has a concealer tool for you guys. They have different, you know, skin tones that you can choose from to match your own skin tone to make sure it looks as natural as possible. And they work against pimples, redness, acne, razor burn, scars, and any other imperfections that every man's face inevitably suffers from. You just have to uncap, twist it, and apply a small amount to conceal the problem area. And in addition to that, they also have a starter kit which comes with a concealer and with a moisturizer, which helps you hydrate and even out your skin tone. So both of those things, you can find them on Strix.com, and because you're listening to this pod, they've given us a special discount code. It's a discount. You gotta use the code for it. It's called StylePod25. The 25 is in numerics, but StylePod is all spelled out because I don't know how else you would spell it. But it's 25% off any one-time purchase. They also do subscriptions if you want to keep buying from them, but if you want to try it the one time, use 25% off. It's a very exclusive offer that they've done just for us because apparently they love the blog, they love the podcast, and who could blame them? I mean, we don't got any stuffiness, and soon we're not going to have any visible acne. So check it out, Strix.com. Thank you for sponsoring. Let's get on with the episode, and it's all about Milsurp. Ba-doo! Hello guys, welcome to Style and Direction, a Milsurp podcast without the stuffiness. My name is
You're not?
Borat. You know, I was watching on the subject of Borat, I was watching What We Do in the Shadows, and there's a great episode where one of the characters...
That's a weird transition.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was really funny, is
Okay.
that one of the characters is like, we should do a talent show, and so you can do impressions, and he would point to someone random, and the person goes, well, my wife, and I thought that was really good, and I wonder why comedians have such a fascination with Borat. Like, what is it with...
I mean, it was like a huge movie when it came out.
It is, but I mean, like, you know, you don't see regular people doing that. It's always like, you know, like UCB people who are like, oh, my wife.
I think it's like an ironic thing because it's like people were doing Borat quotes when the movie came out, and then like 10 years later, it became funny to do it again because it's no longer relevant. Do people?
I remember like that's very nice. I don't think that's my wife. Like that one, my wife is like a very specific like improv comedian thing.
Well, it's just comedians, like, you know, it's like having in jokes. I think it's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like the it's like when you say.
And also, well, I feel like a lot of comedians don't do Borat jokes anymore because they think it's played out.
Right, so it's like the indie thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you say, like, what's your favorite Star Wars line? It's all over, Commander. It's over, Commander. That's one of my favorite. I say that a lot.
Okay.
That's a really good one. And I don't, you know, if no one knows what that's from, rewatch Return of the Jedi and then take a shot when you hear a certain scoundrel.
Why would he take a shot? Did he burp?
Yeah, he actually burps when Han Solo is covering his mouth. That's why okay. He's covering his mouth. He's burping. But my name is not Borat. My name is Ethan Wong.
My name is Spencer.
My name is what?
That's right.
Ethan. Yep. Welcome back. I mean, this has been an interesting month so far. It's a weird month because this month there's been 3 episodes because we do episodes every 2 weeks, but this month has like 5 or 6 weeks or something like that, based on like how it works out or something.
It's the opposite of February.
Yeah, this is where the extra day comes into. So usually most months have 2 episodes, but this one's having 3 regular ones. And if you're a patron, you just missed, or you don't miss it. I mean, it's still up there, but it's our
it gets deleted after 24 hours.
That's right. Yeah, it's gone. It's incredibly.
We made a limited edition print, like a vinyl print of that episode on a fucking 45.
And it disintegrates after it's been listened to.
It's like a Mission Impossible like tape recorder.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that it doesn't explode. It kind of just like smokes up, which I feel like is more pertinent because that makes more sense than like it being a bomb.
Yeah, because that would like draw attention, potentially kill
the agent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what's his name on the TV show? Because it's not Ethan Hunt, or is it?
It's well, spoilers. It's the bad guy in the first movie because that's the original character. But they didn't get the. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the original they wanted to get the original guy to play the character because
it was like, Martin Landau, right?
Yeah, something like that. He plays like Ethan Hunt's mentor, but then turns out he's like working for like the KGB or something, and. The actor was like, when he found out he's a bad guy, he's like, there is no way I'm besmirching this. And also, it's a thing I hate about like sequels or reboots where they take a character from like the original but make them a bad guy. Either they're like jealous or they're like, oh, I'm useless now, so I have to like side with the bad guys. I hate that plot line. It's the worst.
I think there should be more movies like Star Trek where you meet an older version,
the old version.
That should be in more like movies that are reboots of TV
We stopped
shows.
Khan at what cost? The greatest cost.
Yeah. I've only seen that. I don't remember any of that movie because I've only seen it like maybe twice.
A lot of people don't like it, but I like Into Darkness.
I was never like really into Star Trek. I never watched the TV show. I never watched any of the original movies. I still haven't seen any of the original movies just because I'm not a huge Trek head.
Yeah, S-heads.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if that offends anybody. I also have not seen any Lord of the Rings. That's another thing that sometimes people get upset about.
Oh, I mean, I've never seen them either. I mean,
I haven't even seen The Hobbit. You have seen The Hobbit.
I have seen The Hobbit, and my people that I know that like The Lord of the Rings were like, why? And I'm like, well, it was the only time it was available for me to go to a theater and watch it. You know, I was like, what, like 8 or 10 years old when the originals came out? You know, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather watch fucking Star Wars, baby.
Yeah, Star Wars
but anyway, I guess my point with that whole thing was that our exclusive Back to the Future episode is available for our patrons.
Yeah, that's right. You got some free movie talk, and if you want more movie talk, you got to pay $5
you gotta become a patron. That's right. And again, for the entirety of this month, whatever patrons we get for June, we are donating it to our local Black Lives Matter organizations.
Mm-hmm.
But today's topic is not movies. Today's topic is something that is kind of like a new thing new thing in terms of like the blog, and especially for me, because it's Milsurp. It's military surplus, military, not really workwear. Maybe workwear will get its own episode in the future, but this one is specifically about, vintage or reproduction military clothing, and it is kind of a big one. A lot of people have asked us to do this one. In fact, again, plugging our Patreon account, we put it up there, and Eric, one of our good P-heads, or sad heads as we call them, if he's listening to this,
P-heads is so bad.
he gets a free shout out. But
is that the shout out, or do you that again at the end?
Well, he's not a Sadcast fanatic, so he doesn't technically get one, but he's getting a free one.
Yeah.
Because we put a poll up there, and props to our producer Matt. Please don't get on mic. Where we were like, hey, we should do polls about upcoming episodes. That way, maybe we can see what people are feeling. And Eric was the only one who commented, so we're like, okay, well, we're going with Milsurp.
Thank you, Eric.
Here we are. Thank you,
yeah.
Thank you. You're getting like a lot of shout outs this episode.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it kind of ties into our 70s podcast episode.
Was that the last? That was the last. Well, yeah, that was the last mainline.
That's the last official one. Yeah, exactly.
And this is gonna be fun. I'm never gonna know like what's behind a paywall and what's not anymore.
because we're on both sides of it. We create the content.
Yeah.
It's us. We're the sea makers.
Okay. I've never heard that one before.
I'm coining it now.
Okay. That's gonna be our first official piece of merch. It's a hat that says Sea Maker.
I want a T-shirt that says I'm the sea maker.
If you if you have any suggestions for merch or whatever, we were jokingly talking about that in our Discord, which is another benefit. The Patreon. I'm sorry. Wait, I feel like we're talking about too much about the Patreon. I don't want to make this like.
Hey, no. The goal here is to make you jealous of our Patreon and our Discord. But okay, so let's talk about. So what exactly is Milsurp?
Milsurp
it stands for
military surplus. So that's just
hopefully MJ times that together. Don't get out, Mike MJ.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Milsurp is just leftover. It's just like either unused or it technically means non-issued, I guess like military equipment, and that could be anything from like fucking radios to fatigue uniforms, whatever. But in the context we're using it, we're just using like vintage military wear, which is probably not technically surplus because it's been worn before. So
yeah, I mean, like with a lot of things, especially like 30s, 40s, whatever. Like a lot of the stuff that we've owned have been owned by an actual person, and we're getting them secondhand. Either we're buying it from people who are selling it. We're buying it from thrift stores. We're buying it from eBay and everything. Because there's just something special about vintage military stuff. It's kind of, like anything vintage, it's all about the details you can't find today. And,
and it's like,
it
has, I mean, we talked about Workwear a little bit at the beginning, and it's very easy to compare because they both have kind of the same charm about it. It's like the patina that it gets as it ages, like the kind of like hand repairs or like rips and tears that you tend to see. We watched a documentary yesterday. Don't remember the Italian translation, so I'm just going to call it Antonio's Colors. About Liverano, and he talks about how beautiful a piece of clothing gets as it ages, and it's like he was talking about tailoring, but we're talking about a little bit more casual garments right here. But the same principle applies.
The same school principle.
Exactly. What was the name of the principal from? I don't know, Captain Underpants. That's the first pop culture principal I could think of.
Benny Krupp. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Principal Krupp.
See, guys, I was getting that confused with Officer Krupke from West Side Story.
They're the same person.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, watch Captain Underpants. Fantastic film. Also, really great score. This has been a segment, Ethan's Score Talk, which maybe we'll bring into future movie reviews and everything. Which, I mean, I technically bring it up in every movie one, but maybe we'll have a separate section for it. But, it's all about like the special details because... No offense to the armed forces, whatever you want to call them, whatever. No offense to them now, but like modern ones just don't have the same appeal to them.
No,
they just.
And it's like maybe in 50 years we'll, if we're still alive, we'll say something different about that. But it's like I mean, again, it might be that I'm just like way too picky about what I buy, but it's like anything after like the 70s, I'm not super into.
Yeah, I mean, so if we kind of get into this, it's like maybe I'll tell a story later, but okay, that's maybe
I'll tell a story later.
Come up. Well, I'll get into it, but no, I just wanted things that were made, after the 70s, they don't look cooler. I mean, there's a lot of like nylon mixes.
Yeah, exactly.
In, like, the 90s that's
everything. What's great about. The stuff that we tend to buy, stuff from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, whatever, is it's all. I mean, it's like all cotton, all wool,
it's pure
whatever.
Fabrics,
it's like it's like organic fabrics, which
and
of
also
course we like.
Back then too, if you think about it, like you had a lot of pockets because you had to carry a lot of shit with you, and then nowadays, with technology and everything, you wear less and less. It might protect you more. It might be lighter. It might be whatever. But it just doesn't have that same utilitarian feel.
I mean, it's like it's so weird to talk about these garments in these terms. but there's something that was just a little bit more kind of laid back and casual about just like cotton
definitely.
overshirts versus this like, you know, tech wear that has like fucking like Velcro like all over it. It's
exactly.
different
That's
vibes.
that's exactly it. And I think back then, especially, vintage military wear was kind of made as like, in my head, as I'm famous for my connotations of things, military wear was basically like taking regular clothes and making them militarized. Like you look at like an M43 field jacket, you had utility jackets back then, work jackets, but this was like made for the military. Of course, you had trousers back then, so then now you had like fucking military chinos. But like nowadays, you can't really mix military clothing with regular stuff. It's like a completely different design, completely different use. So the
Thousand Yard
contrast
Style
is larger.
Thousand Yard Style does that with like more modern pieces, and he pulls it off. But I just I personally wouldn't wear it.
Yeah, I mean, and also then he also picks the random ones that can work with stuff, like more like his shirt jacket kind of stuff.
That jacket that he was wearing when you were hanging out with the bloke, that I don't know what it was, but it was.
We'll have a picture in the show notes.
Yeah, that was a cool jacket. Our friend Hal, is he a friend of the pod or Twitch? He's not a friend of the pod.
I think he jumped into the Twitch at one point.
So friend of the Twitch, he knew exactly what it was when he saw it. So we'll ask him.
He's a big mill head.
Mm-hmm.
Military head. But yeah, it's just like a different time, and so again, when you look at those old ones, like a jungle jacket, those look like they have like a sport collar, they have like a flat sport shirt collar. Chinos look like chinos. They didn't have, again, crazy pockets with Velcro everywhere, meant to be worn with like boots. Like these.
But
I
mean, of course, there were like more crazy things like monkey pants or whatever that we'll get into.
Yeah,
later.
of course, yeah. But on a general level, vintage Milsurp looks and can fit in a lot better with classic menswear.
Yeah, like World War II naval
stuff.
uniforms, like especially the work uniforms. It was just like a denim jacket, like it was just like a denim jacket.
Yeah.
And like the jeans had like patch pockets or whatever, but it was still just a denim jacket with jeans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you had like the OG 107s with like the kind of fun Baker pockets on them. Well, let's just talk about like our favorite stuff. Or
I mean, the classic, and one of the first pieces of military surplus that he talked about on the blog were jungle jackets.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. And so that brings to my story where, so I'm not a big military surplus guy. Spencer got way into it more than I did. We have a couple of friends who collected more of it, like the Gooch brothers. We have our friend Doug, who I'm sure we'll bring on the pod in the future. And we'll also get into his personal stuff later because he is a great source of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, there was Brycelands. And the Brycelands guys, Ethan Newton, Kenji Chung, and all of their shopkeepers there, they all like have a love affair with like Milsurp. Alessandro Squarzi. There's like a subsection of like inspiration / pity guys who like mix tailoring classic menswear with Milsurp, and that's where I first saw the jungle jacket. And well, the first thing I technically had was an M43 field jacket, which I got from Joyride Vintage.
That's right, yeah.
And that one is technically, it's heavier. It's a good like rain jacket alternative. We talked about it in the rainy day episode.
Well, I mean, it's like, but it's so the I think one of the things that appeals to us about things like M43s or jungle jackets is they are still very wearable, because guys still wear like olive military overshirts all the time. They wear BDUs casually, or they wear like a mall brand repro M65. And the jungle jacket and M43 are just like versions of those things.
The
that we
original
think are
ones.
A little bit cooler. Just a little bit cooler.
Yeah, exactly. And the jungle jacket, I technically didn't start out with the jungle jacket because I did not know what they were called. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, to be clear, jungle jackets were the like fatigue jacket, overshirt, whatever,
jacket,
worn during Vietnam. So it's it's a very standard military jacket. It's like, cotton, either ripstop or just poplin. It has the 4 pockets, but they are diagonal, and they are pleated pockets, pleated bellow pockets.
Yeah. And I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I kind of knew what they were, but they're kind of rare. Excuse me, take a shot.
Not super rare, but it's like
not super, but like you don't see them all the time.
You don't see them in like Goodwill or military surplus stores.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the funny thing is like none of the stuff that we buy. I don't think None of the stuff we bought have actually been from military surplus stores because they don't have anything.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
into the stores later on. But yeah, the first thing I got was like a '90s BDU, like a camo BDU or something like that. I don't know, Bosnia era. I don't know what the thing is there, but I mean it's kind of similar. And then I realized, and then I found like a jungle jacket, and I was like, well, this is better because the '90s BDU didn't have the diagonal pockets. It kind of just had like regular patch or not regular squared bellow pockets, and so I eventually traded it for the jungle jacket. And I think honestly getting the jungle jacket was like, okay, I think I'm kind of into this Milsurp thing now, and like we said, field jackets are super easy to kind of wear because they are a great, like, outer layer that kind of goes with everything. I mean, there's, Spencer, you said that you saw that. We'll put in the show notes. It's like it's old Mad magazine illustration or something of like a guy wearing it in the 50s.
Yeah, it's like this
him.
it's this gag about like how to impress people at a party, and one of the things is like, wear like dungarees, sweatshirts, and like field jackets. And it's supposed to be like, oh, you're dressed like a fucking hobo, but it's like in 2020 they look very cool.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's like it's all about finding alternatives to things that are still cool. Like, and by that I mean, instead of wearing like a trench coat, which might be a little bit too, too menswear or too Inspector Gadget, wearing like an M43 field jacket has like, popped collar, it ends a little bit above the knee. It's cooler, it has a rugged appeal to them. Same thing with like a jungle jacket, where like, oh, instead of wearing, a Harrington jacket, you could wear a jungle jacket because it's light, it's made out of cotton,
it's like super convenient.
Pockets.
Like it's been pretty hot in Southern California last couple of weeks, but I still wear that thing if I go on walks or whatever, just because having that extra pocket room is super convenient. And it's not like heavy enough to like make that much of a difference if you're just wearing a shirt underneath.
In Japan, where if you're a foreigner, you have to take you're required by law, I'm pretty sure, to have like your passport with you at all times, because in case someone needs to stop you and make sure you have papers. That doesn't happen, but like just in case, it was cool to have because like I had that in like my breast pocket in case. Also to buy stuff because to show that you don't pay the tax or the VAT or whatever, you have to have that. And also, just so you had your fucking wallet with your train pass on it, because in Japan you take the train everywhere, and you need that. It was really convenient for me when I went to Japan, because I literally had everything I had in my top pockets, the top two chest pockets for the jungle jacket. But of course, in general, Milsurp's appeal is that you are getting cool versions of things or alternatives. Like, yeah, you could get like a pair of flat from chinos from Banana Republic or J. Crew, or you could wear like World War II khaki chinos, which they have a higher rise, they're wider in the leg, but they're great.
And like we said, it's gonna be a little bit older, but it's gonna have these, it might again have like hand repairs or little stains or like stencils or something that you're not gonna find on like a mall brand item.
Yeah, and that's a little bit iffy sometimes, like I think stencils are cool. I prefer, honestly, having like cleaner vintage ones. They don't have to be like in pristine condition, but the less rips or marks they have, the better, just because I want to add those marks myself.
Yeah.
That's just a personal preference. I mean, I also have pants that have fucking holes in them, or I've, some of my I think my jungle jacket has like a hole in it somewhere.
Yeah, I have a couple holes that I need to repair in my jungle jacket because one of the pockets is ripped, which does make it less convenient. But
okay. Exactly. But I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff, and in particular, I think one of the reasons why I started to get into it more was seeing Kenji Chung's camo monkey pants, the M43 monkey pants, which are super cool. Like you think of like, okay, all of chinos are cool. Then the step up would be like an OG 107, right? Vietnam era, or even
with like the Beecher patch pocket.
The Beecher patch pockets. Like lots of guys get into that. So many reproduction brands like not Head. I don't think Heddles is a manufacturer, but like 316 or something will make them. But then you go a little bit further, and seeing these ones from on Kenji, it was so cool because he wore it with a turtleneck and a navy blazer and a fucking beret. Like it's mixing a bunch of different shit together, and then like white socks and penny loafers or something like that. Super great stuff. And that kind of got to me because I was like, wow, that's cool, because I know Spencer wears we have 107s, right? I mean, and I thrifted some too that I think the waist was just too small, And
because it's like it's a type of cotton that like shrinks over time, so you have to be really careful. Because the first pair that I bought was marked my waist size, but when I actually measured it, it was like 3 or 4 inches smaller than that.
Do you still have them?
I think I sold them to somebody or gave them to somebody, but I have the pair that I got in New York, which those work.
Yeah, I got mine in New York, and they don't work. In fact, they're MJs, and even MJ after eating, you can't. You have to undo a couple of belt loops or whatever on them.
Undo the belt loops.
Belt holes. Damn it.
Belt holes. There you go.
Yeah, BOs, and but yeah, like
right.
I was still like, damn it, you're right. BH.
You got it that time.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, well, 107s they're so commonplace that I was like, I want something else. And seeing those ones on Kenji and seeing our friend Doug wear his, Doug doesn't have the camo ones, does he?
I don't think so, but he does.
He has like the earlier version of them where basically, so the pants we're talking about, they don't have regular like slant or on-seam pockets. They have like a cargo like. It was
a very early version of a cargo pocket. So it's most cargo pants you see today, you have the regular hip pocket, but then you have a pocket lower down on the thigh or whatever. This was just like, these are just huge like bellow pockets. Like right
in between, right on the side,
or right on the side,
where like on your upper thigh-ish kind of area, not quite, and they're really cool. And some versions of them, I think the monkey pant one has a detachable, I don't think it's detachable.
It's just a pocket on the ass.
The diaper, for
which it's like it fit like a lot of people think they're cooler because the ones with the ass pockets are rarer. I don't know. It's like I get the historical rarity, but I don't personally like it that much.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it looks like you're wearing a diaper.
It's like again. I'm not knocking anyone that wears those. I think they look cool, but if I wanted one, I would want one without the ass pocket.
Yeah, and so I've wanted some for a while because like those were cool. I found some at like Inspiration. They're like they're expensive, and I lucked out because we went to a store, or Please and Thank You, a vintage store that I don't think operates at a location anymore, but they were having like a location closed down sale, and it was like a lot of like 70s whatever stuff, casual 40 stuff, and I saw a pair of M43 pants there, army pants. They're like the monkey pants, except they're made of all of HBT, and they have the side pockets. They don't have the ass pocket, and so. Yeah. And they have like the 13-star buttons and everything. It's really cool. Super high rise, wide leg, and everything.
See, it's like this episode is going to be completely incomprehensible if you don't know much about military surplus.
There's an article I have about them included on the Fun Pants one. Mm-hmm. But I lucked out because I brought it to her and she's like, oh shit, these weren't supposed to be out, because she thought the owner thought that she had already sold all the rare stuff or kept it for the Japanese customers or like, more exclusive stuff, but she had it out there. She's like, all right, you can have them for $120, and I'm like, that is sold, my dear madam. And I said that to her face, and now I have cool pants.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, again, I have them because they are a great alternative to regular olive chinos or just regular pants in general. That's the whole idea behind Milsurp. And then I think that's all I kind of have, other than like jungle jackets, World War II chinos. I don't really collect like the shirts or anything, but I know you do. You have a bunch of stuff.
No, I mean, most of my casual jackets are like I have a couple denim like Milsurp, like either reproduction or true vintage ones. Like I have a couple World War II HBT, which once again is herringbone twill. It's just herringbone, but I have a couple of like herringbone jackets. One of them is more like a chore coat, the 3-pocket chore coat. The other one is just like an overshirt. I have like a camo jungle jacket and a regular olive one. I've got.
There's all gonna be pictures of this on the.
Yeah, it's like I've got the. I've got like I have a lot of repro stuff because it's mostly pants. Well, I only have 2 pairs of repro pants. I have a couple like repro. Like denim jackets, like I have a 30s shawl collar US Navy one. Those are pretty rare, and normally go for like $600-700. So I was fine spending $40 on a repro, and then a 1930s pullover style denim jacket that was worn, like it was a 30s like army work uniform, but that was also worn by the Civilian Conservation Corps during the Great Depression. I mean, it's like I don't know. There's definitely stuff that I'm like leaving out just because. Well, I get a lot of my stuff.
Jacket too, right? Don't
Yeah,
you have an N1 or something?
Oh, that's right. I have a N1 that I bought off Doug. That's I believe a real McCoy's one that I lucked out on because I got like a friend price, and then I also like traded him a couple things for it, so I didn't have to pay that much. But I mean, for me, military surplus has the same appeal that workwear always had. It's just like it's just as we've talked about, like the beauty in these incredibly practical garments. It's we're talking about them as fashion, but they were not designed like as fashion. They were just like they were designed to be worn like on fucking like 10-hour marches every day and like still like carry like fucking ammo pouches and other things. I haven't served. I don't know what you carry. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I know the life of a soldier, but they got cool clothes is my point.
Yeah. I mean, like that's again the appeal of it, especially when we talk about the 60s and 70s where people started to wear these things out and in public. Because that's what they had. I mean, like you had that whole era in the 50s where like GIs would wear like just like a fucking white t-shirt and like a cool leather jacket, whether it's like a civilian one or a military one, and then they wore it with World War II chinos, because that's literally what they had. You have the whole, I think one reason why it's so prominent is that Japan has a big fascination with it as well. Because
Torah, the book that we recommend a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talk about like context and everything, and the thing is, Japan has no historical context for this stuff. Like they just liked it.
Well, because it makes
cool.
So after World War II, when Japan was like being like occupied by like American like military personnel, they would end up getting a lot of the surplus because after World War II, Japan's economy was like not going great. And so they had to get shit from wherever, and so like the GI stationed there would like trade. I it's been a long time since I've read this, so I might be getting some of the details wrong, but they would trade their like military jackets or whatever for like you talk about the souvenir jackets that came out of Japan, which is not technically a military surplus item, but has a lot of like military connotations. Like, so the Japanese would make those, and then the Americans would trade their clothes for that.
Yep, yeah. And that's what makes it super cool. And, the mentality of, like, having something that's, different or whatever, outside of the context is definitely one reason why that's one reason why I believe that it's been fairly prominent in, like, menswear circles, because menswear does take a lot from the Japanese, and they love wearing it. When I was there, lots of people were wearing olive jackets, olive shirts, khaki pants and everything, and it begs the question, like, how do you pull it off, right? How do you take these cool items with these great details and, like, how do you make it work?
And it's like it's you would think that's an easy question, but sometimes there is a fine line. Like, you don't want to look like a guy cosplaying or whatever. You don't want to look like you're going to like a reenactment.
Right, because I think that honestly, like, when we say pull it off, I think a lot of guys already like it. Like, we're not trying to, like, this podcast definitely isn't, like, we're not trying to sell you on it, because all my friends who aren't into menswear, they still love military jackets because they're just fucking cool. Like my friend Scott, he'll wear, he wears like regular clothes, but whenever we like happen to share like a real McCoy's picture in like our group chat or something, he's like, that's fucking sick. Or
like
when we go to the Rose Bowl,
he's been looking for like an M43 liner for a while, but those are pretty expensive because they're very rare. But
and he's also a bigger guy, which also in general though as
which
well.
Which is, I mean, we'll get into repro options later, which is, I mean, it's like it's like, so a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it's depending on where you are, it can be pretty easy to find, but usually they're going to be in smaller sizes.
Which looks out for me, which is one reason why I know there are times where I find some stuff that is pretty good, but I mean, I think making it work is interesting. You know, it's not. There's a like mentality that goes beyond just wearing like obviously if you're wearing like a Star Wars T-shirt and like a military jacket over it, you're gonna look fine because lots of guys do that. You know, maybe you might not have to be into menswear, but a lot of people thrift, right? And sometimes you find it there and people will just wear it. But making it work within classic menswear, some people are a little bit iffy, right? Because classic menswear is very formal. You know, there's a lot of different stuff in there. But when you look further into it, there's a lot of inspiration because even Ivy has a lot of like Milsurp put in there. I mean, the original
hey, it's a meme, but it's like fucking military heritage, you know? Like a lot of garments came from military uniforms.
Exactly. I mean, you know, again, when we look at the whether it's Ambitora or just Ivy history in general, the chinos with white socks and loafers, those were like World War II or 50s, 60s chinos that were surplus, and people wore them, and they washed them and they shrank up to be over your ankle, or you cut them, you know, to make them fit you. And it was cool because it was a bunch of kids who like wanted to look nice, but like maybe they didn't have their parents' money or they were on their own for the first time, so they would just wear those things with their Oxford button-down collars and their blazers and everything. And that's one way to make it work. I mean, I think chinos are the easiest way to kind of get into it, right? Because khaki chinos, whether they're if they're World War II, they're cool because, you know, not only is that super old and again the higher waist and everything, but it's still different than wearing like a Banana Republic chino. The wider legs make the silhouette look more interesting. You know, again, wearing an olive chino is a step up above that because, like, okay, you got the khaki one, which is, you know, military or whatever. But then olive gives you that edge of like, okay, it's really military. You're not just like you're not like some Christian Mormon guy wearing like chinos. You're
not wearing Dockers. It's like, this is
you're leaning into a nod to military tailoring. And then you get, you know, okay, olive chinos with Baker pockets. You get the M43s or whatever. You get all of that, or you get like you have like parachute pants and stuff. You know. Like, those are fucking wild and weird, but then you wear that. It's all about being subversive and, like, challenging it, which I think works, you know? Once you get in that mindset of, like, okay, I can wear a button-up shirt with slacks, that's fine, but, like, what's beyond that? You just take those items and you alter them, and military surplus gives you those extra details while still being, like, this is an old garment, it's still in vogue or whatever, you know? It still has a place, you know, as they say.
Yeah.
Who says that?
Who says that?
Yeah, and then of course military jackets in general work because, you know, there's not a lot of like casual jackets that, you know, don't signify, like they signify something, right? Like a leather jacket can be Indiana Jones, or it can be like too punk, or like a denim jacket can be hippie. But military jackets have this kind of appeal of like an everyman kind of thing. So you can put that with fucking everything. I personally like it worn with tailoring, like straight up, like you wear that with like gray flannels or something and panty loafers, because and Tony Sylvester does that a lot.
I mean, there's that old like Bruce Boyer, like you dressing like Bruce Boyer post that he made.
Oh yeah, when I first got the M43.
Where he's wearing like an M51 or something, but he wears it as an overcoat. Even though you have to be careful with this because I tried it, but I think because I don't know if it was because I'm taller or the jacket that I got wasn't long enough, but you have to be careful with that. You want to make sure that the field jacket is proportional with your suit jacket.
Yeah, because my M43 can work over some sport coats, but not all of them, because sometimes it goes beyond, you know. I mean, again, they weren't meant to be worn over tailoring, but you can, which is what makes it cool, you know.
It's it's giving things new context, which is
exactly that's
another common theme in the podcast, but yeah,
exactly. And that's what makes it easier. I think, you know, you don't have to really think too hard about it. I think you know, putting yourself in the mindset of like you just throw it on, and I think is what makes it really work. And don't be afraid to mix it with, you know, tailored pieces.
And
whatever.
I mean, the other benefit, and this is maybe because I wear like a fucking piece of like olive green outerwear every day, but olive green is like an incredibly easy color to match.
Oh yeah,
it looks good with almost everything. Like, you know, you could still wear it with like an all black outfit and it would probably still look sick. You did that, right?
I did. I wore that to a protest.
I was going to say that was like probably the only, maybe black would be the only color that wouldn't work with it, but no, it still looks good with black.
I mean, yeah, automatically goes with blue and brown.
I really think it's just because it's such a ubiquitous garment. It just works with almost anything you can wear.
Yeah, exactly. And well, like there's also guys who wear it with other military workwear stuff that make it
Which
work.
is
Like, I
that's when it
personally,
gets
I don't. Yeah,
that's when it gets a little bit harder.
because you don't want to lean into like you don't want to look like you're a straight up GI or something.
Yeah, so that's why
G.I. Joe.
I've done it before, but I don't tend to wear like olive pants and olive jackets, or if I'm wearing like a pair of camo pants, I might go with like a denim jacket rather than a military jacket, something like that. But there's still, I mean, you could still do like all military and not have it look like you're going to.
Yeah, like again, like when you look at our inspiration article, or even look at our friend Doug or Garrett and Josh, they all tend to like. Sometimes they go like all out military or like a lot of military stuff together, but I think it's always better when you mix something else, kind of like with it. I think Doug's our only friend who tends to wear a lot of military together.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture I have of him who's wearing like an N1 with like World War II chinos, and he's wearing.
But it's like he never looks like he's like he always looks very natural
on leave or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think because it's like you're not wearing them with like combat boots. I think like combat boots with military stuff is kind of like I can't do that. I don't think I wear boots with my military stuff. Mm-hmm. If I'm wearing too much military, like if I'm wearing like well, I don't do it very often, but like Doug, for example, with the N1 and the World War II pants, those technically were worn together, right? Like World War II chinos and
I don't know if they would be worn with like an N1. I mean, it's like I don't know. I know about individual pieces, but I don't really know a whole lot of information of like how they were worn or whatever, like what context they would have been worn in. But the N1 was like, I mean, it could have been. It could have been. I'm sure it was at some point.
Yeah, but I guess my point is that when you look at him, he's wearing like high top Converse or something. Like he's not wearing like. Converse is kind of an iffy thing because Converse to me is a little bit. We'll get into that in the sneaker article later on. But like Converse's military is a little bit too expected for me. It's a little
because
bit
it's like very Americana.
Yeah, and because that's what people. I mean, Converse has been around for a long time, so when guys did wear Milsurp back then, they probably did wear them with like Converse or like Colchesters or whatever, But like Doug's also been known to wear like high top basketball, like Common Projects, which I'm not a big fan of basketball shoes, but because of Common Projects, they're sleeker, and the high top could evoke the feeling of a Converse high top, but it's a different vibe, and that together with all the military makes it look like he's not just a GI, he's looking like a guy who is just happening to be wearing military clothing.
Yeah.
I think, again, taking things out of context, pairing them with other places, because, again, like, for me, I can't wear too much military on top of each other. Like, I once time wore, I think I wore a jungle jacket with M43s, but then I wore it with, like, Vans, and then I wore that with, like, a Star Wars t-shirt. That's kind of, like, one way to kind of go around it. I think that military surplus goes a lot with, like, it's like punk kind of, like not like punk traditional, but like the idea is very punk rock where you wear it with different stuff. And people back in the 70s did that. They wore like a military field jacket over some graphic t-shirt, some like novelty t-shirt or something, and I love that look.
Yeah.
And my novelty shirt of choice is always going to be Star Wars.
We talk about, this is something, I mean, we have an upcoming episode on politics with our friend Young Chomsky that we're probably going to get into this more. But something that something you always have to consider is, again, like when you wear like a lot of military surplus, it kind of like there's like connotations with it. It's a lot easier to avoid those connotations if you're just wearing like a field jacket. But if you're wearing something that has a specific branch of the military on it, or if you're wearing a lot of military, you look like a
militia person.
Yeah, exactly. which is hard.
Yeah.
And again, this is
I got into this with Aldous as well. Because he was looking at like World War II like great coats or officer coats, and it's really hard to kind of wear without looking like like fucking Dwight Schrute or like some like airsoft kind of guy who's like, oh fuck yeah, military, or even just like looking like a fucking steampunk guy or something.
I think overcoats are like harder. And that's one of the reasons why I like avoided getting a pea coat for a while, because I just think of them as like, that's kind of like a nerdy guy jacket.
I do have a pea coat.
You have a pea coat, and yours looks yours looks good because
My
again it has
my peacoat's fucking awesome.
because
Yeah.
it has details that you don't find in any of the peacoats that like nerdy
Oh!
guys wear.
Yeah, also, yeah, a peacoat is a good one that's kind of easy to find at like most flea markets, eBay.
But you have to
Because
make sure
vintage
you're getting a
ones
good
are
one.
better. Yeah, vintage ones are better than like modern ones because peacoats are like the go-to like regular guy clothing,
Mhm.
or like especially to the nerdy guy or anything. Um, and yes, I love mine because mine has a very dramatic collar. Because back then peacoats did have very crazy wide collars
And
and cool
yours
buttons.
is a little bit longer than a standard one would be right now today, right?
Yeah, mine's not like I used to have like a fashion one back in like high school, but then I don't have that anymore for obvious reasons. But yeah, so like a peacoat's not that's not really the bad connotation to it, but like it kind of gets into it when you're wearing like an officer's coat, maybe wearing like an actual military like shirt can be
Mhm.
kind of hard to wear, like the khaki. I have like a civilian version of like a military shirt, and I don't wear that with chinos because khaki on khaki is kind of weird. But you wear it with
Yeah.
like jeans. You wear that with fucking gray flannel trousers. I think that's totally
I
fine.
think something that Ethan and I both tend to avoid is anything with epaulets, and I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I think that's just an aesthetic choice for us. Um,
yeah.
because yeah,
That
so it's like I would if I had to I would prefer a khaki military shirt that was just like it would look more like a work shirt than it does a military shirt
Which
maybe.
is why the one I have is a civilian one
Mhm.
because it doesn't have that kind of thing. It's from the '50s, so it has like a like point collar, which sucks because I really want a spear point one, but I haven't found um a good khaki work shirt, military style shirt.
Yeah.
Also, because some vintage ones are made out of wool, and that is harder to wear. I would say also avoid like wool military shirts
Mhm.
because that's just because I live in California and there's no way I'm wearing a fucking wool
Yeah,
shirt
I
here.
used to have like this really cool 30s like new old stock wool work shirt with a chin strap that it's like I got that in high school for like pretty cheap on eBay and I loved it because it was maybe like the rarest thing that I owned and it was like very cool, but I had to sell it because I wore it a couple times. I'm like I can't wear a heavy wool shirt. Like I can't do
No.
it.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we'll get into the politics thing in the future, but it's also just kind of wary, like
Yeah.
as left people, we're not
Yeah,
on the
it's like
side of,
I consider myself an anti-imperialist, and so sometimes
exactly.
it's hard to reconcile that with wearing garments from like the biggest imperial army of all time. So
Yeah. But it's also, again, punk rock, we're reclaiming those things.
yeah, no, I mean that's
We're,
what it's like. You
that's,
look at like a huge like I mean it's like maybe my favorite movie, but also a movie that I think just has great style. Like Inherent Vice, it's like he's wearing like a military jacket the whole time, and you see, I mean, it's not just in that movie. You see that in like a lot of movies,
mhm.
especially ones from the '60s and '70s of these counterculture characters wearing military jackets because they're it's like it's the same thing that we're doing. We're wearing it in like a different context. It's like we're kind of giving it
Right.
new meaning.
Exactly. So where do you find military surplus and military clothing? Well, the first answer is don't go to a Milsurp store because Milsurp stores do not typically carry this kind of stuff.
Because again, Milsurp stores are going to carry what is currently surplus, not
And like
like
we said, we
it's like,
don't want Velcro shirts, Velcro
and
pants,
it's
and
like a lot
shit.
of military surplus stores will have like there's one by my house that I go to occasionally. They do have like a stock of like vintage items, but usually, I mean, they're the higher priced items and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You might be able to find a Milsurp store that has like repro. A lot of them carry like there are a couple like Rothko or whatever, which I don't know if it still probably has a contract with the U.S. military. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about the brand itself, but you see like like reproduction like Rothko jungle jackets or M65s a lot in surplus stores. But if you can always go for original, they're not going to be that much more expensive. Like you can get a jungle jacket for like $50 or less usually if you have a keen eye and eBay.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally don't really buy too much because again, I don't have a keen eye for Milsurp. It's not something for me like, oh, that's a '40s jacket. Like I can't do that with that one. Um, But, having friends who are into it, again, being in the Discord, will, because sometimes we're looking at stuff, we put those in there. But, we have our friends who source some stuff for us or who send us links and everything. I personally like doing flea markets, even though you might be... It's harder to find. Also, you're in competition with literally everyone else in there because everyone loves selling vintage military surplus. Our friend Doug routinely goes there and buys fucking everything if he can. But I've gotten lucky a couple times. Spencer's gotten lucky a couple times as well. Check your local flea markets because, I'm sure someone out there might be selling, whether they found it or their fucking family member had it. I'm sure you'll find something.
Yeah, you're gonna. It's like
and people kept them. The thing is, people kept these things
because they were also just. Once again, like I said, it's similar to workwear, in that they were like meant to last like a reasonably long time. It's like this a lot of this stuff was like pumped out pretty cheaply. Which is, I've always thought it's kind of ironic that it was like all mass produced and now like these Japanese like artisanal, like they're being made by hand. Not a bad thing, just kind of funny. But there's a lot of it and it was made to last. So.
Yep. So yeah, try and check those out. Maybe thrift stores aren't that good, but there are a lot of resellers on Instagram and eBay. We got Please and Thank You. We've got Raggedy Threads. People like Newson Street Vintage or Vintage Haberdashers. These other vintage enthusiasts also happen to sell and pick. Our friend Doug also sells and picks. So there's lots of stuff out there. We'll include some links in the show notes and everything. But it's a fairly popular thing because if everyone else is buying if 90s streetwear, 90s casual stuff is like the hype. Milsurp is like the hype for like classic menswear, for reselling and everything. They have the hype.
Well, because it's also, it's like it's a different
on TikTok.
As we kind of talked about this on stream last night, but this is also like where we live. It's a big thing. There's a lot of people who are like really into military surplus around the LA area. Because it's like, it's a little bit...
It's the go-to vintage. It's the vintage that actually can work.
Because it's like casual. It's a little bit... It's kind of like punk rock, a little bit. It's a very cool way to wear vintage in a way that like wearing a true vintage 1930s suit may not be as cool to the average person.
Yeah, Rule of Cool, which actually someone on Reddit cited as a good episode.
People like that episode.
Yeah,
I should listen to that one again because I don't remember anything that we said. It's right up there with
the Algis episode about the uniform. It's like a couple of things are on there.
Our biggest hits.
But yeah, hey, if you guys are in LA, check out the Rose Bowl Flea Market. That's where it is. You get to see great style.
I think it's coming back next month. Maybe I don't know if I'll be in attendance, but I think on their website they said their first day back is July 12th.
Oh boy, is it?
Maybe. Well, we'll verify this after the episode. We don't have to. This doesn't have to go on the show notes, but we'll find out for our own sake.
Yeah, exactly. And it's my it's my literal favorite. It's the only place I shop technically now.
No,
I don't really
great.
go anywhere.
It's like before the pandemic, we would be there every month, at least every month that we can. And it's great. You just like I had like a fucking jar that I would put like a couple bucks of my paycheck into. I would try to have like $200 cash with me. And with that, I was able to get some like pretty good stuff. Like 200. It's like, I wasn't consistently spending the $200 every month. But even still, like I was able to like really build up my wardrobe with a lot more cooler casual pieces.
Yeah. And all my vintage casual stuff comes from there too. A lot of my Milsurp there. That's where I got my olive green poplin, or is it I'm not sure if mine's poplin or ripstop, but that's where I got my jungle jackets from. My World War II chinos, all that cool stuff has always been from a flea market, and so definitely check those out. And then what about reproduction makers, Spencer? I know that you have some of those.
No, there's a lot. There's like a couple like World War II impressions at the front. What Price Glory?
ATF.
Yeah, and that
WPG.
That do a lot of like World War II stuff. What Price Glory does a lot of like non-American stuff, which is kind of cool. So the weird thing is, I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to slander. I think that some of the guys that run these World War II reproduction sites have maybe weird opinions about Nazi Germany.
What?
I'm on the newsletter for a couple World War II like reproduction websites, or not the newsletter, but and they make a lot of Nazi stuff and talk a lot about Nazi memorabilia. So we're not.
Oh my god! I didn't know that. Jeez, I mean that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, so we're not saying that like everyone that's like super into military surplus is gonna be chill, because there's gonna be a lot of fucking like Mark Furmans who like collect, like, you know, they have like a museum in their garage of Nazi shit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't wear the clothes. Maybe not Nazi stuff. I think that's.
Rephrase.
We should make it clear.
I know that black trench coats are cool, and you know,
we do not.
Hey, Darth Vader's helmet was based on.
But
Wehrmacht,
I think the opinion of
helmets,
Street Expressa is that it is not okay to wear like Nazi gear out in public. Like that should be obvious, and I think everyone that listens to this probably shares that opinion. But just to make that clear.
Yeah, just to make that clear. I mean, hey, there was a couple of times where this is kind of. I mean, okay, so I have one story. I'm not gonna say any names, but I saw one time on Snapchat where this guy was all like, hey, totally got a fucking Hitler Youth jacket, fucking sick. And like it has like, you know, the intonation of being like edgy. Also, like there wasn't any like visible marks, but you can see where the patch was clearly taken off from it. Don't know if the guy did it, don't know if he bought it with that patch already off of it. But that stuff is kind of like, even if it was like a cool short jacket, I would definitely not wear that at all, because fucking Nazis, okay? Just fucking Nazis. And on the subject of the Mark Furman stuff, I remember one time, this is more of like a thing about the vintage community, but I remember going to someone's house, and like, this is like, you know, like, this is like 2010 to like 2013, 14, so like, you know, way before Trump, way before any like alt-right shit, but he was like, guys, check this out, and he had like a fucking Nazi pin. And I was like, and I was like, you know, like, oh, that's kind of cool and edgy-ish, kind of like, you know, like I thought it was like a Cobra or like a Hydra type of thing, right? And then at a
because it's
event,
like, I mean, you have been drawn aesthetically to bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, okay, like, I mean, the Empire in Star Wars is cool. I mean, it's also a fake thing, you know, like, that's not, you know, a Hydra is a fake thing, you know, like, I mean,
so you're more comfortable wearing, I mean, you used to have a Hydra pin, you were...
Yeah, and I wore that when the fucking Winter Soldier came out, but then now I don't know if I feel right wearing it, because, here, again, we're finishing off with the story, this guy at a vintage event was all like, hey guys, check this out, and under his lapel, like how American Nazi sympathizers would do it, under his jacket lapel, he would have a Nazi pin.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then when we went to like a fucking, oh, Spencer wasn't there for this, when I went to the fucking and I, you know, like the guy at the front desk was there, he told my friend, hey dude, you wearing your pin? He was like, oh, I didn't do it today. He's like, oh, what a shame. And I'm like, in my head I was like, what? And I'm like, oh, they're talking about fucking Nazi pins. Like, and the thing is, like, yeah, there's edgy stuff. Let's all be satirical, whatever. Trump, blah, 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 alt-right. Look at the white power, okay, hand symbol. But that's still kind of like a weird thing. And to tie it in, you know, these guys are also very into military surplus. These guys are into very military reenacting. So, again, if you're into it and you're like us, you're lefties, it can be kind of weird to kind of get into it, and of course we're going to get into it more.
I want to say that almost everyone I've met at like Rose Bowl or Inspiration who sells military surplus stuff has been really chill. I think this is more an issue on the reenacting side rather than the fashion side.
Yeah, and again, reenacting guys tend to not wear military stuff casually often. I mean, it depends who they are, because there are some more modern guys who are into reenacting who have, you know...
I mean, if I'm not personally into reenacting, but like if I was, I would probably just wear the stuff that I had casually, because my attitude with most things is like, it's just clothes. And that helps you. I mean, it helps it be less of a costume, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And people who think of it as like a costume to like put on when people aren't looking, that's where it gets kind of problematic.
Yeah.
But
What?
yeah,
So we were talking about where to find it.
yeah. What else? Yeah. What
Okay.
else are
Well,
we
like
talking
most like curated vintage stores. So again, not thrift stores, but like curated vintage stores are gonna have a military section.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite like repro brand?
My favorite repro. I have a couple things.
I mean, like real. There's something.
No,
Like
I mean,
real McCoys,
absolutely. Yeah, we didn't mention those.
Mr. Freedom, like those, like
no.
the big ones. You know.
Yeah,
those
it's
are
like
really
they're.
great. If you can afford it and find it.
If you can afford it, it's great. Nigel Caborn doesn't do a lot. I mean, he has like a bunch of like strict like military reproduction stuff, but
Yeah.
it's also a very cool brand because he takes these things and like adds his own twist to them. The thing that I bought most from is probably, I don't know, either At the Front or What Priced Glory. Those are both pretty good, but I mean, if I could afford it, like I would absolutely be getting more of the like Japanese like reproduction brands because as I said before, they're all like, you know, fucking like handmade. It's like very artisanal.
Yeah, and also, I mean, lots of regular contemporary makers that may not be focused on vintage military, they have a lot of designs that are lifted from it. You know, like you look at Drake's with apparently the joke, I totally forgot, the Dick 43.
The D43, that's right.
The D43, you know, like is basically their version of the M43, you know, but sartorialized, you know, made out of like a heavyweight linen instead of like the regular cotton twill or something. You know, like Craftsman Clothing is about to come out with like an M65 made out of like a melange cotton silk, which has like, you know, cool like you know, like little well, it's melange, so you have like a little bit of flecks of like pink or green in there, or cream or something, and like that's cool. A lot of people again take inspiration from vintage military because it's got some great designs. People have been wearing them forever, and they're just, you know, they have something special about them that makes them better than wearing like a modern like BDU or something. They're just more interesting. They're a bit more sartorial, and you know, it's cool to see. Like the Armory, I think, has some like jackets, something like that. You know, J. Crew routinely does reproduction.
Yeah.
RP J. Crew. So.
Oh yeah, this is the first episode since I'm no longer an employee there. Even the J. Crew episode we recorded, I was still working there.
Yeah. So, and of course, like, you know, like I think Uniqlo has some stuff. I mean, Uniqlo had like a sports shirt that it's made out of ripstop. That's clearly like, you know, after a you know, like a 70s fucking military shirt or whatever. And so yeah, there's a lot of places you can go to that maybe if you don't want to do straight up like, you know, a straight up N1, there are places that make like versions of that, you know. And so yeah, Milsurp is cool, and you guys should get into it.
We already mentioned a couple accounts to follow. I mean, our friend Doug, who I don't think, he doesn't post super often, I think, and when he does, no, I mean he posts his outfit pics a lot, but his Instagram is You Can Call Me Douglas. Like there's a lot of other great, like, I mean, what you should do is if you are in an area that has like a bigger flea market, just talk to the sellers and follow them on Instagram. That's how we found a lot of cool people to follow. I mean, it's like hard to go through and list just because like that's like half the accounts I follow on Instagram. But you know. Yeah,
way more than me. I mean, I felt like I always like, again, military surplus done, maybe less workwear, but more so like Rugged Ivy, like Newton Street Vintage, I think is one of my favorites. And you know, there are also a bunch of other guys out there too, like that all like it. Chuck, you know, again, hey, all of our Discord people getting shout outs today. You know, we all take inspiration from it. And oh yeah, I guess I forgot to talk about like fucking jumpsuits. That's something that's cool. Maybe that'll have its own episode in the future if we wear it more, because I know I don't own a jumpsuit. Like, you know, that's just you. But you do have an overall. I'm saying like that's overall kind of outfits or whatever. That's also kind of like a military thing that's kind of hard to wear, but to answer your question, because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to say, but what about your M40, you know, your 1943, 1945 one? Yeah, my answer to that is that I wear that, but with like sneakers or loafers, just to kind of remove the overt military connotations, because it is like, you know, that one's harder. You're literally wearing like a fucking jumpsuit. Yeah, it's like a whole outfit in one piece. You can't like. Yeah. Yes. But then Chuck had an outfit, I think, recently that he was wearing like an Oxford with the coveralls, but then he tied the top half on, you know. And I've done that before, which is really fun. Like didn't think I would do it, but then one day I was feeling bored and I did it. So it's fucking cool.
Wait, really quick, a couple. So if you want to know specific brands that if other than the ones that we've mentioned, like fucking like What Price Glory, Bronson, whatever, like websites like Clutch Cafe London or any shop that you just go to the brands list and you can find stuff. Like there's a ton of great brands, too many to mention in this episode, but just that's a good place to start.
Yep, that is a good place. Clutch Cafe. I mean, just like if you find like a lot of Japanese people in general have great stuff.
Just anytime you see a Japanese person, ask them. Ask them.
Military surplus?
Yeah, don't do that.
Just feel don't. They'll think you're weird. But if you follow them, there are a lot of Japanese sellers, even who have great stuff, and you can also lust after it because these Japanese sellers get their hands on some crazy rare stuff, and following them on Instagram is probably one of the only ways you'll see it.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode.
I think so too.
So I guess it's time for me to thank our sponsor, Strix, for sponsoring this episode. Strix! Is that like the river Styx?
That is actually where they got their name. That's not true. That's not true. So. I would hate to slander.
You would hate to for them to issue a correction.
Yeah, you do not under any circumstances.
So if you didn't listen to the beginning of the episode, which I don't know why you wouldn't have,
that would be a weird thing.
Why don't you tell them what Strix is?
Well, anyway, Strix is it's a new concealer brand or cosmetics brand just for men. Now, Ethan, what do you do when you have zits?
I get sad because I normally don't get many zits, but I'm like, oh fuck, and I just kind of have it out there.
How would you feel if I told you never had to be sad again, but only about that one specific thing?
I was to say, but do you have like a solution?
Well, Strix can't make you happy. Well, they can't make you happy about everything in your life, but they can make you happy that whenever you present yourself, you're putting your best foot forward. You're putting your best face forward. Now, like I said, is that
an actual thing? Is that their actual?
No, but if they want to use that, they already have our payment info. So
there you go. There you go.
It is a cruelty-free. It's a concealer or a cosmetics brand. They have option. They design products for every type of guy out there. So that means they work with all skin types. They work with all skin colors and minds. And they are actually offering us, or our listeners, a discount code.
What is the discount code? Tell it to us.
So if you want 25% on their order, go ahead and use offer code StylePod25.
Yeah, for 25% off any one-time purchase, because they also do subscriptions. If you guys want to continue doing it, and they have they have a built-in discount, I think, for if you're subscribing. But if it's just a one-time, you get 25%.
And as I told us in this email, this is a pretty exclusive offer. You are not going to find anywhere else.
We're cool. Yeah.
Once again, it helps you by getting it, because once again, you're putting your best face forward. TM. But it also helps us. Because if you use that discount code, it helps the pod a little bit.
That's right. So they have it's a concealer. It's basically if you have a zit or pimples, redness, acne, razor burn, or any other imperfections. What about my whole face? I don't think it can help my whole face, but it's a concealer that you can use to cover all of that up, which is great.
I mean, the other nice thing about this, so I can assume that most guys who listen to our podcast probably don't wear makeup. The only time I've had to wear makeup was for plays, and I never liked it. But this doesn't feel like you have stuff like caked on your face. It feels very natural. It's not going to be super noticeable, anything like that.
Yeah, think of it as like a Tide Pod pen, but for your face.
You wouldn't want to take a regular Tide pen and draw it on your face, I'm assuming. This one you would.
This one you would.
What they really need to do is they need to come up with just like a regular Tide Pod that maybe like conceals all the imperfections.
What if on
the inside of your body?
What if they had one that, like a Tide Pod, you crack it open in the shower, and then all of a sudden you have no acne.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be great. But hey, we're not product development at Strix. We're just here to talk to you about the concealer, and they have the concealer one, and they also have the starter kit, which has the concealer and the moisturizer, so you can hydrate out. And again, honestly, my face used to have a lot more. I think if you look at like really old blog posts, I had like kind of bad skin, because I also started the blog when I was like fucking 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But moisturizing is super important. I'm sure Spencer can tell you moisturizing is important, and drinking water can help, but also having a tinted moisturizer to hydrate out and even out your skin tone can also help.
And so one more time, that discount code is StylePod25. 25 is in numerals. The rest is all spelled out.
Yes, 25% off any one-time purchase.
That's right.
That's right. And again, go ahead and check them out at Strix. That's STRYX.com. And if you want to follow us specifically, like if you don't, hey, if you're here for the acne stuff, go for it. But if you're here for the Style and Direction stuff, you can follow us at Style and Direction, all spelled out. We also have a Twitch channel and a YouTube for all of your gaming and all your archiving needs. So also a lot of fun stories. Yeah,
we stream twice a week. That's for right now. The schedule is Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m.
That's
Central.
Correct.
Central. PST.
Pacific time.
Pacific time.
That's right.
Our YouTube, we're uploading old episodes, but then you can find some Twitch stuff. Again, no current plans, but we're open to doing video content in the future. So keep your eye out.
That's way down the line. Yeah.
That's way down.
You can follow me at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO.
And big thanks to our producers, MJ and Matt. Please, I swear to God, don't get on mic. I don't know why I have to keep telling you this all the time.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
We will see you guys.
Hey, don't forget our special patrons, our sad heads.
Oh, yeah. Sad heads. Thank you, too. Let me pull it up because I totally forgot to pull it up.
But anyway, so don't forget, we talked about our Patreon the first, 15 minutes of the podcast. There's a special tier, sad head. You pay an extra $5 a month.
Sad head is the regular. Sadcast Fanatic is the top one. $10 a month. That's $5 more than the regular. You get the same benefits, but with the added bonus of us specifically thanking you at the end of each episode.
Yeah.
Although the rest of our patrons got shout outs during the body of this one. But special thanks to Seth Peterson and Austin Malott for being Sadcast Fanatics. We hope that this list gets bigger next time around, because again, these guys, for donating this month, and of course all of our other patrons as well, we are donating it to Black Lives Matter organizations.
Yep. So this month you're gonna be helping it. Is this even come out this month?
This comes out end of June. Yep, it's end of June. That's
so it's gonna be cutting it close, but you have some time to do a good thing and also get some cool bonus content.
Exactly. So thank you again, Seth Peterson and Austin Malott. I think that's how you say his last name, Malott.
If not, we'll have a correction for you.
If not, he gets asked that a lot. Thank you. I'm here all day. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's my wife.